Hello and welcome to the July 7th edition, 2018 of Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show. The opinions expressed by the show's host, myself, Dwayne Perry, and Anthony Tony Hendricks will many times conflict, thus the title, Point Counterpoint. Point Counterpoint is a weekly show for our area. Point Counterpoint always lets you be the judge for yourself. We live in an information free-for-all. It's hard to tell the difference, see through all the misinformation, get to the accurate facts, what's right and best for our community. We will not libel, discriminate, or disrespect anyone or their views. We believe in the constitutional First Amendment, right of free speech, and we support anyone who voices their opinion as part of their duty to their community. This program brings you just that, an unedited, honest, candid discussion of issues. The producers of Point Counterpoint are solely responsible for the content of the show. But because the show is not rehearsed, we take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by our guests or for the opinion or for the information they gather from public sources. We will adhere to all applicable federal, state, and local government regulations concerning limits of public speech and program content. The intent of this show is to thoroughly research current issues that affect our community, present the facts surrounding these issues, discuss the pros and cons, then present to our viewing audience what we together or individually feel is the best solution for both the community and the public. Point Counterpoint 46360 show is a property of its producers, Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks, and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of its producers. The producers take no responsibility for the opinions of others in the posting of comments in chat rooms, blogs, video logs, forum posts, or other media. We welcome and encourage ideas and suggestions for the show. We can be reached at 46360show@excite.com. Our shows will air on Comcast Cable Access and will be rebroadcast by us on YouTube under the label Point Counterpoint 46360 show. Again, welcome to Point Counterpoint, the 46360 show, brought to you by Dwayne Perry and Anthony Tony Hendricks. We hope you enjoy the topic, the discussions, and the shows. Well, let's get started. Tony, what do we have on our agenda for today?
Well, today is our wrap-up, and I guess this is Point Counterpoint. I thought we did 4 shows. You think we did 3. We're going to find out and do some research. But we wrap up. So we go through all the topics we did for the last 3 or 4 shows, and we'll take a 5-week hiatus to rerun them. A little bit of homework and catch-up. You got the index done for the YouTube. I got all the YouTube shows loaded. We're going to load up the index. You can pick which show you want to watch. I mean, we've had some great information on our shows. We've had some unbelievable
We've had some killer shows you need to watch. We had a good one on the Mayor's State of the City address. We had a good one on the proposed stormwater fee. These are shows that need to be watched so you know what's going on in our community.
And I was thinking, before I came here today, I was working on a whole apartment we own in Michigan City, updating it and keeping it maintained. It takes a lot of work to keep those old houses up. And I thought, what's the scorecard? Because that's kind of where we're at here. It's kind of our scorecard for 4 weeks. And we keep reading these articles and we bring lots of information forward. And I kind of just want, like a scorecard, what happened during the game and where you're at and what actually transpired and what you achieved. And I expect somebody should say, okay, we'll do this today. Where are we at? Where are we going? And what worked or what didn't work? So the first topic, Michigan City teachers' income. That was a huge topic. Right?
Yeah, where is it at with respect to teachers in other cities in Indiana, other cities of our size in the nation? And we found that Michigan City teachers do not make what the teachers in the areas I referenced do make. They don't make what they're worth.
Yeah, and Indiana's sitting on, what was it? Billions of dollars in reserve?
$2 billion in reserve revenues. And they allocated $75 million for teachers for 2019.
Because they were short in their budget prediction.
Yeah, because they were short.
So
They should spend 10 times that much on Indiana teachers.
And Illinois is broke. Illinois is
Yeah,
probably
we
$2
are
billion
hit.
in debt.
When I saw an article that rated the states in education, and we're above Illinois, but we're behind Kentucky. Now,
Yeah, but the pay rate, we were behind Illinois.
oh yeah, we're behind Illinois in
They
pay
pay
rate.
their teachers far,
But in
far
the
better.
quality of education, that's what they registered it.
Oh, yeah, quality
That's
of
what it
education.
was.
But the teacher's income was far greater in Illinois.
Yep.
So here Indiana's on $2 billion. I guess the question in my mind is, are we saving, is a penny holding up a dollar? You know,
Yeah,
education funding, education.
Dollar waiting on a dime, that's the saying.
Yeah, dollar waiting on a dime. Is education funding is very clear. There's no study that shows any different. That education helps everything. Jobs, income, housing prices, tax revenue, everything. It all, if you don't have education, you don't have all of those things.
And if you're watching this right now, I'm telling you, don't be confused or get lost just by the numbers. I'm going to translate this into reality. The last couple days, Tony's in business for himself. He's a professional surveyor. The last couple days, he's been doing layout work for one of the LaPorte junior high schools. They're expanding because their enrollment is going through the roof. And where is their enrollment coming from? Michigan City, because our junior highs are failing academically. They failed in the last state's rating.
D and an F.
So don't think that this doesn't relate. The money relates. More money yields better teachers, more motivated teachers, better education, more students. Right there, that's reality. Living proof.
Yeah,
They're outgrowing the school in LaPorte because of all of the Michigan City people that are spending the extra money to send their kids to LaPorte.
Well, they can send them anywhere they want. There's no extra money.
Rolling
But they're
Prairie,
driving
Westville,
South Central,
Chesterton,
Chesterton.
all of these surrounding school districts are growing as our school district is shrinking, declining, losing students.
Yeah, I understand. Westville sends a bus up here to pick people up. I mean,
Let's get with the program.
Port is combining their junior highs, and that school is just enormous. It's more than double. It is a monster, and all I can figure is they don't want their kids going to junior high here in Michigan City. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's the fact.
We hear
we live in.
we hear a lot of rah-rah from the school system, and I like Dr. Easton Watkins.
Oh, I think she's fantastic
I
compared to
think
what we
she's-
used to have.
Yeah, compared to what we used to have, definitely.
She's a godsend.
But there are things that need to change in our school system, which is one of our topics. During one of our programs, we talked about a resolution that's been on the table for the school,
Oh yeah.
what it was, school board. School board.
Yeah, the school board for
The school board
for athletic. Drug testing.
to put a random drug testing program in place for Michigan City area schools. It's still sitting on the table. It's been there for months. The only two school board members that support it are Don Delaney and Burl Bergwald. And we're the only one, to my understanding, in the Duneland Athletic Conference, the only high school that doesn't have a program in place. So what better way to prove that our kids are drug-free, that our faculty is drug-free, it needs to be for students and faculty both, than to have a test record that says, we're clean. Michigan City's a clean area.
Yeah.
So why is this resolution still sitting on the table? Go to the school board meeting, ask them about that.
But it all comes back down to education and funding, either from the state and we talked about this, from our localities. We were told when we had a lottery in the state, we'd get education funding. We were told when we got a casino, we'd get education funding. It hasn't happened. Michigan City has the Promise Scholarship. I thought was a good, small first step. But if you're going to a junior high that's a D and an F, how are you going to make it in college?
Well, the current Promise, is that what it is?
Promise Scholarship.
The Promise Scholarships is only 2 administrations too late. Bob McKee wanted to do it, and he was part of the 2008 through 12 council. I proposed it when I ran for mayor in 2015 on the 2012 through 16 council. Now it's finally going and being put into place. That's only about 10 years too late. Well, actually a lot more than
You
that.
think we could spend more money helping teachers, and I want to make it clear, I'm not talking about administration. I think Indiana is one of the top states in the nation that spends the most money on administration. Now, you know, Dr. Easton Watkins, I think, does a good job, and she needs help. She needs teachers that are paid a good, livable wage and have the ability to not worry about money and focus on the kids. If they're going home worried about how they're going to feed their kids, I don't know how they're going to affect the next day's lesson in school. So that's teachers' income. That was a great.
This is a situation that has been plaguing Michigan City for years, and it's finally coming to a critical stage as all the students are leaving, as our students are going elsewhere. When I was in school, junior high, high school, during summer, we'd see all the teachers again, either working summer jobs for NIPSCO, working summer sales jobs at Penny's, Sears, wherever. They had to work summer jobs to supplement their teaching income because it wasn't enough to move forward. I'm talking the 1960s and 70s. This has been going on a long time. The rest of us, if we have a good job, can make, we work year round and we make ends meet. Teachers have to be treated the same way.
I agree. And in my mind, it's needlessly. We have the money.
The next subject
Choose not to spend it. Okay,
the next subject we'll move into, the tax incremental financing program.
That was a great subject.
Because some of the money that's going into that probably should be going into schools. The TIF, tax incremental financing.
Tax increment financing.
It was brought about by the birth of the casino boats in Indiana. So we've got that now instead of education. And and Tony caught it, I didn't, that the TIF program is being stopped.
It is stopped in California.
It's stopped in California, and it's under fire in Indiana because too many communities have not taken the money. Originally, the excess of funds in Indiana, the thought was, well, let's give the taxpayers a rebate. God forbid do that. So they created the TIP program to put the money back into blighted communities, Kokomo, Michigan City. I mentioned Kokomo because they were a hub for automobile.
Oh, yeah.
Gary, the automotive industry.
Elkhart,
RV, Gary Steel, Michigan City, Pullman Standard, to resurrect these blighted areas. Well, these communities, Carmel is one, Fort Wayne is one, Michigan City is one, that was not using the funds for that purpose. At one time, the North End TIF had over $35 million sitting in it. Now it's being used, it's been used somewhat, but it's been used to do things like the Wabash streetscape. Not directly, but to pay the bonds off, which is another subject we're going to get into. Michigan City's got this enormous amount of revenue coming from the riverboat, and yet every time we do a project, we float bonds, which is take loans to do the project. We're being sold a bill of goods by these financial investment bankers that say, oh, you need to have a AAA bond rating. You need to take more bonds, have a lot of money in the bank. Well, we're paying, the last time I reported on this, principal and interest on current Michigan City bond projects that are bonded is $69 million, which is 1.5 times Michigan City's annual budget. So, I don't know, what can I say? What's going on here?
we kept going over. It's return on investment. TIFs were created to take a blighted area, capture the money, give to somebody for investment, and then that would go, then the TIF would go away and that money would come back to the tax rolls, because it really came up with the city's North Tax Increment Financing District that happened, and it was voted 5-4, and I was really impressed with some of our council members. Councilman Johnny Stimley, brand new on there. Boy,
Yep.
smarter
Spoke
than
out
heck.
against it.
He said this would be a 20-year freeze. A 20-year freeze that would capture additional taxes generated in that part of the TIF that would not go to Michigan City schools. So of course, Michigan City schools are struggling. We create these TIFs and we try to grow these areas, but the money never seems to get to stop in the TIF. It just keeps going and going, and California found that. California said that's enough. California was the first state who created TIFs, and then the first state to make them illegal. They failed. They failed because there was no return on investment. The development would have happened anyway without the TIF and the bond and the interest payment. The development would have lasted instead of failing, because now you're giving somebody some money and then it doesn't work, so it just fails. The TIF districts in California are gone. This is California, a state that's known for incredibly bad finances.
There are
Does
4
not
states in the country that set trends. You need to understand that. You can read about it in books. California, New York, Florida. You can see how active Florida is after that last shooting. They're on a nationwide campaign, anti-violence. And the last one is Colorado. If you want to see what's going to hit the rest of the nation, watch what's happening in those 4 states. And California has now said it's no good. It doesn't work. And what's Michigan City doing, because we like the TIF program, it allows us to stash a lot of cash away, we're refinancing existing bonds. Because the law says that you can't close a TIF district out until all the bonds are paid off. So in order to keep that TIF district alive legally, we're approaching the end of life of some of the bonds, like the north side TIF, and we're refinancing it so that we can keep it alive for another 20 years legally.
Well, the north end was expanded. The south end was expanded.
Yep.
The south end has a new bond. What was that? $8 million for Ohio Street,
For Ohio Street.
which ended up being $3 million more in interest. So there's $11 million. And the one comment I hear from the article, Councilman Tim Beatry, in truth, the impact of TIFs for schools is negligible. He cited a financial analysis done for the city. I don't understand how you can say that the impact of the TIF for schools is negligible. If $1 is an impact, what's $1 too much? Negligible is not.
Well,
an
here
acceptable answer.
again, Tony, how much of the information have we actually received by Mr. Beatry's comment? It's a good chance that the result of the study that he quoted was probably performed by a company that sells bonds.
Oh, probably.
What's to your advantage?
Oh, yeah.
You know, look at the source. If you're going to quote an article that says Michigan City is the greatest country in the city in the state of Indiana, give us the name of the magazine. Don't just make a statement like Mr. Beatry. There's no foundation. You got to have a foundation. You got to be able to verify the claim that you just made.
Well, give us the study.
Yeah, give us the
Public
study.
information. The public paid for it. Show us what's negligible. $1, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. What's negligible? Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, we got to move on because we
Supply
got
of Michigan City workers
a lot
versus
of topics.
jobs. That was a big one, and that started back when Toyota said, we're not coming to New Carlisle because there's no workers. We can't.
See, now read between the lines here, people. We've got more jobs than we've got workers. But what are the jobs? Sonic,
Tire store,
tire stores, mattress stores, stores that offer minimum wage,
no
benefits.
no retirement.
Toyota didn't come here because they needed a more qualified, they were looking for a more qualified worker. Keyword qualified. Not only competent, not only does their job, can pass a drug test, is responsible, will show up for work every day. This is the whole package of what a qualified worker is.
And skills.
And
skill
skill.
set. They need a skill set.
Yeah. So we've got more jobs than we have workers because they're all minimum wage jobs. And if you look hard at it, there's only a couple dollars difference between what you make working a minimum wage job and if you're sitting at home on unemployment.
And
There's not that much difference.
And since we're in LaPorte a lot, I know a good amount of people now that are driving to LaPorte every day to work at some of the big places there. Arconic, Renault, yeah. I mean, they are full-time, booming jobs. They are training these people, giving them the skill set. They have full benefits, and I mean full benefits, dental, eye. They have retirement plans. These are fantastic jobs that Michigan City people are driving to LaPorte for.
And how many new companies of that type have we gotten in Michigan City since I've been watching it? Zero.
That's why I wanted big. Where's the scorecard? Where is the return on?
It's a shutout.
Yeah.
Zero.
You know, what do you do in what do you do in T-ball? You know, it's a three inning game. If it's
so many innings and you call a game. Well, we better watch the clock. This game's about to be called.
Then we got to go through the Michigan City hiring ordinance.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That is going on back and forth in this town. And I brought it up because it's a tough one to talk about.
Well, it is. It's
because South Bend is having the same discussion.
It's a tough one to deal with because we are in a union stronghold. And this is a union man talking to you. I'm a 599 Hammond carpenter. I'm union. This is a stronghold, and our big contractors in this area are union. The Reith Rileys,
Walsh and Kelly,
the Walsh and Kelly,
Woodruff,
the D&M.
Yep.
They use union people. And Michigan City does not have enough minority members in our community. African Americans, Hispanics, women.
Well, it's tough because
that are in the union. And once those people are allowed to join the union, then they have the problem of the out of work list that unions have always gone by.
Yeah.
When you finish up a job, you're assigned to a job. The hall will call you, be at BP, 6 a.m. Monday morning. You go to that job, and it's a temporary job, despite what we're led to believe by the mayor. The saying in construction is every day you come to work, you're working your way out of a job. When you finish building what you're doing, you get your last paycheck. Thanks, we'll see you later. Then you go back to the hall and put your name on the out of work list. If you're lucky, there's only 20 people on a list. If you're unlucky, there's 400 or 500. And if I come from Michigan City and I'm 379 on the list, and a job opens up in Michigan City, I'm not going to get called to that job. The guy that's number one on the out of work list is going to get called, regardless of where he lives. Portage, East Chicago, South Bend, he's going to get called. And it's hard to accept, but it's the way it is set up. And in such a strong union area, those trends are hard to stop.
Well, I'm looking at South Bend.
Those practices, not trends, practices.
I'm looking at South Bend, and they have the same discussion. They're paying $250,000 to Colette Holt and Associates out of California to do a disparity study. So they're going to take a firm, and they can't change the union either, but they want to know what's happening. So they're going to find out how many contracts, $50,000 and over. I'm trying to see. Oh, they said they had a database of 272 city contracts valued at more than $50,000 in 2015, 2016, and 2017. And they're going to come up with a ratio to see how many were awarded to minority and women-owned firms. My side of this whole issue is if Michigan City has the golden goose of the casino and we can do all these projects, and we can't find a way or even know how many Michigan City are available or could work on I'm not talking minorities or women, I'm talking about Michigan City residents.
Yep.
Our money should go to Michigan City residents. If you live here and you pay taxes here and you send your kids to school here and you buy your groceries at Al's, come on. We need to hire Michigan City people.
Yeah, you're right. I stand corrected on what I said before. The hiring ordinance affected minorities, but it was about Michigan City residents and putting them to work before out-of-towners come here to Michigan City work. That's what it was about.
And that's something, if you've been, if you've been there 6-8 years, you should know what the ratio is. Is it working or not? And if you know what it are, then come out in the paper or have the diversity director say, it's not working. We need some help. We need to fix it. We need new, fresh ideas to find a way to work with the unions and get Michigan City people working. The economy is great right now. I presume everyone who wants a job has a job right now.
Well, the economy has been good for some time. Well, from 2008 to 2013, 5 years, I worked on the BP project over there, the modernization of the refinery. They built a few extra units. I worked on several of the units for Superior Construction out of Gary. Now, there might have been somebody that was angry that I went to work before somebody from Whiting or Gary did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way it works. But at that time, construction was so good in this area. We had guys coming to work at the refinery every day from Alaska, from California, from Delaware. It was a job that was nationwide. It was so big, Indiana couldn't cover. Indiana was booming in the south half of the state, and in the north half, our area, northwest Indiana, there weren't enough workers available to handle that project. At peak, there were over 10,000 workers going in and out of the gate in Whiting every day. 10,000, it's the biggest job I've ever been on in my career.
There's a lot of people.
It was a nationwide job. I met guys from coast to coast that were in Indiana working.
So the point of the hiring ordinance is Michigan City citizens and residents.
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to do. So we can move on.
Okay,
Resolution supporting the drug testing in Michigan City schools. You already touched that.
We touched on that. Well, I mentioned the mayor's State of the City address. Everything that we've talked so far has been so related to Michigan City that the rainbows and unicorns kind of whatever mood that the mayor said in his State of the City address, everything is beautiful.
You are beautiful.
Yeah, we are beautiful. We are beautiful.
You are beautiful.
Kind of punched holes in that. So let's just
the resolution on drug testing. if a school board member says we don't need a drug test because none of our athletic kids are on drugs, well,
I think that was school board member Corley that said that.
Well, then test
our
them.
Athletes don't use drugs.
If you got nothing to hide, we should be testing and say yes, our kids are tested, ready to go. Because if I was a Duneland school parent whose kids were playing Michigan City, I'd be concerned. A, are they on drugs? B, are they cheating?
Yeah.
I mean, is this a fair level playing field?
I don't want my kid playing against some kid that's hopped up on speed, and his performance that night's going to be 120%.
Or ADD or
yeah.
Adderall or whatever. I mean, we want a fair. If we won the state championship, we want to say, yeah, we won and we played fair. Our kids played fair. And it was an even match. We just bested you. I can't believe, I thought that was the craziest thing, and I didn't see the meeting that you would say we don't need a drug test because our kids aren't on drugs.
Take my word for it. Take my word for it.
It's such opposite logic. They should have said, well, I guarantee our kids aren't drugs, so I'm going to vote to take the drug testing, the random drug testing in our school, because I know every kids are going to pass. We're not going to find any kids.
It's very simple. It's just like President Trump said to Senator Warren. Isn't that from Massachusetts?
I don't remember where she's
Senator
from.
Warren?
Oh, yeah.
She says she's part Indian.
American Indian.
American Indian. He said, I'll give you $1 million if you pass a DNA test.
Well, he said that he would pay for her whatever.
He'd pay her $1 million.
23andMe test where you take a blood sample and they send it in. They do it for you for like $30.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you if you're Indian or not.
He said if you were a genuinely American Indian, I'll give you $1 million.
If you had any Indian in you, I'll give you $1 million.
We haven't heard from Senator Warren yet.
But the point of the Michigan of the drug test was, it's not, and Burl Bergwald said, it's not to penalize people, it's to get them help. If they're addicted to a drug, we need to make sure that they get to grow up and be a good social member of society and produce in the world we live in. It's not, you've got to know.
Exactly.
We don't want to hurt themselves. I mean, too many times you see basketball players, and I don't want to pick on basketball, you know, some of these basketball players are really tall and they're having heart attacks and dying. We need to know that they're safe.
Mr. Bergwald is a realist, and usually what he says is pretty much on the money. But going on, we've got, now this is a game changer here. President Trump's new infrastructure plan, this is going to affect Indiana, and it's probably going to affect our excess revenues. That the traditional funding of projects for states and municipalities, where the federal government picks up 80%, the locality picks up 20%, he's flip-flopping. The locality is going to be 80%, provide 80% of the funding. The federal government's going to be 20%.
Yeah, I don't remember the whole article because it came up with the federal dollars, but the gist was he lowered the amount of money available, or they made the amount of money even, but if you want to do a project, you have to have new money. That means
The municipality has to.
the matching funds can't be from money you already have. You have to create a new tax, a new fee. You can't.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I think the federal highway
taxes.
program. Yeah, they're not going to allow you to take other money and match federal money that already exists. You have to come up with a new private partnership, a new tax, or a new fee. You can't take some of your money and say now it's going to be used for the match. And that's going to be hard because elected officials don't want new fees and new taxes. Well, I don't know. Indiana, I think, is one of the highest states now in gasoline tax. It's just on and on and on. I guess taxes aren't the word anymore. It's fees.
Yeah.
New fees.
We get a wheel tax, wheel fee, whatever.
I mean, talk about interstate.
And the ironic thing about it is months ago, when the word swept across the state that we were going to get hit with 10 cents more a gallon for gas, $5 per tire every time you put new tires on your car, and each year when you got your license plate sticker registration, it was $15 on top of that for a conventional car, $75 for a hybrid, and $150 for an electric car. When that all came out, then some people, not the mainline news media, but some people looked into it and determined that of the existing gasoline tax, not 100% of it was going into roads.
No.
But yeah, we're passing another gas tax.
No. I thought it was hysterical because there was an article 2 weeks ago in the Northwest Indiana Times that the headline, I believe, was gas tax increases again. Because they set the new tax, I think 10 cents a gallon, plus they try to adjust for inflation, a penny or 2 cents every year for the next 10 years. It's going to keep going up. And then a couple hours later, because in there was a representative, I can't remember his name, out of Porter County. He had said something, and so then a couple hours later, the headline read, gas taxes are increasing. They took out the again, because I guess somebody got mad.
Yeah.
That
I can't remember his name, but I think it's the same.
Ed Soliday.
He's the same representative that is totally in favor of turning all of our interstate highways into toll roads.
Except Indianapolis.
Yeah, except the 465 loop.
They don't pay. Probably the highest traffic interstate area. Maybe it's close because of Borman.
Very comparable to 294 around Chicago.
But
if you've ever traveled that, look at the quantity of vehicles on that. Think how much the state of Illinois makes.
They're not paying. Indianapolis doesn't pay. Which it boggles my mind that any representative, because representatives come from different localities, any representative outside of Indy wouldn't stand up and scream at the top of their lungs. Yeah. No way. If Indy doesn't pay, we don't pay. Fair is fair. We're not carving out Indy.
We're all in, or none of us.
We're not carving out the Ivory Palace so they don't pay. No. I can't believe it. It's even on the table. Unbelievable. Anyways, that was the infrastructure plan. Be very careful. And in that, we talked about, and I've seen some more articles on Chicago and the South Shore line down to the South Lake corridor.
Yeah, we talked about the bonding and rebonding that we're doing.
Well, no, it's an infrastructure plan because we're on the list, and we brought up, I gave you the 2019 infrastructure.
President Trump's, in the budgeting process, he has a list of, he he controls a list of public projects. All we hear about is that the NICD double track alignment and a spur down to the Lowell Dyer area is progressing. Well, the only progressing that it's doing is on funds that are already in place locally. The federal funds are not in place yet, and I don't want to call it our project because it's not mine. This project is not on the list for 2019.
Yeah, so we're waiting to see the 2020 because you look at the list, 2017, 2018, 2019, the federal highway funds, there are projects that are hundreds of millions, California, Boston, Washington, Florida, that are all on the list. So they all get 10 million or whatever each until their project, because once they fund a project, they're not going to stop funding it. The California has a new rail that's gone out of control. It's billions and billions of dollars. So when will they ever get off the list? Because you can't add anyone on the list until somebody finishes their project.
Yep.
So it looks to us like we're pretty far down the totem pole, and then we're competing with Chicago. They have a new extension coming all the way down to almost to Hammond, right? East Chicago, a new red line.
Red line, yeah.
The red line. They're extending that all the way down, and they're asking for federal funds. I think they got some already. So did they just jump over us? Just want to be clear. So that was part of the infrastructure, the federal highway dollar plans.
Isn't NICD in partnership with Metra?
Well, they have to be because we use their tracks.
Yeah. So we're kind of doubling this effort here. NICD's going to push that spur down to the Lowell Dyer area, right along the west border of Indiana. And Metra's going to push a spur down in that same area along the east border of Illinois.
Why don't we team up and we stop our tracks at the red line? You get on the red line, we take the money we spend that we go to Chicago and we spend it on our south corridor and our double track. I mean, think out of the box here, guys.
So some of the things just don't. Somebody's not connecting the dots. The double track thing was presented to Michigan City as a commuter benefit.
No, wait. First it was we had to do it because
of positive train control.
Positive train control.
Which
that was 2009.
2000.
That's 2009.
Okay, before I started that. Yeah, 2012 when I got on the council, it was positive train control for one presentation, and then we never heard anything about it again.
And now they have positive train control.
Now it's in place. Yep.
So we don't need it. Anyway, move on. Michigan City bonding and rebonding, and bonding.
Well, they're rebonding to save TIF districts.
Bonding. You just can't say bonding enough.
Yeah. There's an echo.
It's just, I mean, we're bonding the $8 million for Ohio Street. We have Cleveland. That was our beef. We have Cleveland Avenue Extension, right?
Yeah,
that's been paved 3 times now.
Supposed to be such a wonderful economic project, and there's no businesses on Cleveland.
And I was
south of 20.
I was up on 421 south of 20 twice today. Jam-packed, traffic jam, overrun.
Yep.
Not a soul running over to Cleveland. And they can't go to Ohio because it's one lane right now. But those people coming into town, they're not going to move over anywhere. They're going down 421.
Yep.
And that's the corridor. That's our lifeblood right there. So Michigan City bonding and rebonding, I guess when is enough? At some point, when California figured it out, it doesn't work. When do we figure out what's the return on investment? Could somebody please look at all the bonding and the TIF districts we've done and give us an unadulterated return on investment? Did it work or did it not? And just be honest here.
And if not,
it didn't work,
if it doesn't work, let's close it out, take the money, and create an incentive program for taxpayers.
Oh yeah,
Incentive program to improve your property, improve your quality of life, and that will benefit the community so much more than these TIF districts are just sitting there with all that money. Elston Grove's a good example.
Well, the deal with TIF.
What's happened in Elston Grove? Now half of them are rentals. There's a ton of rentals in Elston Grove.
I had an article here I saw that
The police have been there several times, so.
Oh, here it is. I couldn't figure out where it was from. Oh, it's the Times. Doug Ross. the former site of Zorn Brewery on York Street, just a block from Michigan Boulevard, is being turned into a hotel and spa. Really? No, it isn't. It's run down. We're talking about
Yeah.
a brewery.
Oh, they're talking about, oh my God.
No, it's not.
No, it's still all boarded up.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened.
That's why I asked, where's the scorecard? Where is the follow-up? You followed up on the one on Kentucky Street. They're going to make those craft bottles. That never happened.
Never happened. Building's all boarded up. The Chicago Bottling Company or something like
They
that.
sent them a letter and it came
When I
back
was on the council, Beatrice and Murphy wanted a tax abatement for them.
Yeah.
Gave them a tax abatement. Next thing we knew, the building was all boarded up. So,
Well, yeah, they did buy the building.
Michigan City bought the building.
No. The people who wanted a tax abatement did buy the building. They own that building.
Do they still own it?
I think so.
I'll have to check.
But they didn't do
Big
anything. They just boarded it up. They did. I mean, it's one thing to try to bring business in. It's another thing to actually follow it, make sure they came. I mean, yeah, like you said, the rah-rah. We got something.
Rah, rah, here we go.
We got nothing.
But the train never arrives.
Blue Chip's supposed to expand. I don't think
Well,
they've
they
broken
need you to
ground
be
yet.
competitive.
Their
They're
revenue's dropping.
They are in a tough area of business.
But those plans came across my desk 8
For
months
Blue Chip?
ago.
For Blue Chip?
Yeah, the addition of the Blue Chip 8 months ago, asking for bids. Something's up. Just like this down here, the market, 120 market rate apartments. I didn't drive back in today. I didn't drive by again, but
Oh, the old Memorial Hospital site?
what's going on there?
I asked some questions. I couldn't get any answers because we talked about that on one of our shows, and
Yeah.
I said I would find out.
Real hush hush.
Yeah, my sources didn't know.
Didn't know anything. That's very interesting. Okay, that's Michigan City bonding and rebonding. Indiana education funding. I want to go back over that. You said it.
We got to get,
75 million. A drop in the bucket.
yeah, drop in the bucket.
Should have been 750 million.
10 times that.
I
10
think it
times.
should have been a billion or a billion and a half. There's no better way to invest your money than education. Pay these teachers, make them accountable, make sure they go home.
Well,
They're not worrying about eating and their kids having a place to live because they're teaching in schools. It's so backwards.
I agree with Tony to a large extent, but I don't think we put all of our eggs, all of our dollars in that basket because we need jobs too. Chicken or the egg,
Yeah.
they're so close.
Oh, yeah.
Education equals jobs, jobs equal income, property improvement, quality of life, everything goes up, but you don't have that without education. But you have to have kids to educate them. You have professional people coming into the area, you have more kids. Right now, the kids are on their way out of the area. They're not coming in, they're on their way out.
Yeah, we have this discussion all the time. See, my mindset is let's take the risk. We're already taking the risk with TIFs, and there's no return on investment, or very little return, and we get minimum wage jobs and no benefits and no living wage jobs or retirement. So let's put our eggs in the education basket. I think it'll work. We're already taking the risk in TIF, and that hasn't worked, or no one's told us whether it has or not. So there's Indiana education funding. It's got to be something more than 75 million. I understand the legislature has a hard time because the school boards control. It's how it works, right? City council only appropriates money, and the executive branch, the mayor, spends the money. So you can't tell, once you give the mayor $10 million, you can't say, well, you got to use the $10 million for this. No, you gave them $10 million.
Yeah.
And what they do with it is what they do with it. So the legislature can't go here and say, hey, Michigan City Schools or Gary Schools or New Prairie or whoever, LaPorte, here's the $100 million. You got to spend it this way. No administration costs. You can't do this. No.
That's the responsibility of the administration and the school board to spend the money in the right areas. A couple months ago, I was driving west of town and got out in the country roads, semi-lost, and all of a sudden, boom, here I am in front of an old but very attractive building, Pine School.
That's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
I love walking around a college campus that is 200 years old, the beautiful old buildings. And there was nothing wrong with the building. Instead, we've got a state-of-the-art, is it called a magnet school, the New Pine School?
Yes.
With 50 or 60-inch big screen, flat screen TVs in every classroom. Unnecessary. The school doesn't teach the students, the teachers teach the students.
That's what we were discussing while we were out at the junior high in LaPorte. It's kind of a tragedy that that's the way it happens. That's why I discussed how the finances work. That the state was left with no recourse to say, okay, if the schools aren't willing to spend their money wisely and their schools are doing poorly, we're going to find a way that those kids in that district, which is sad, in their home school, can leave their home school and go to a better school. If their parents are going to drive them out there to find a better education for their kids, you don't have to pay tuition. As long as they got room, they can go. So all these school districts around everyone that's got a bad school district, and Indianapolis sees this too, are building these monstrous schools because the kids are running, the parents are pulling their kids out of there like no tomorrow. So we're spending hundreds of millions building new buildings instead of hundreds of millions paying for good teachers. And that's the travesty. We're looking at that like this money should have been spent somehow.
We're spending money on new schools, and we're losing money every year on the vouchers that the state gives us, the voucher money for students.
But what else?
So we have money flowing out, no money flowing, not enough money flowing in.
What choice did the legislature have? Because they give the money and the school board chooses how to spend it. If they're not spending it right, then they say, okay, we're going to do one step further. You can pull your kid and go to any school you want in Indiana, no charge, as long as there's room, and you can get them there. And that's what we're seeing. So maybe this will flush its way out that these school districts say, wait a minute, these other schools are spending a lot of money on their teachers and we're spending money on buildings. We better start paying good teachers because we're not going to be around.
That's a tough one because I've heard it said so many times that anything the government gets its fingers in, it screws up. You want to keep government involvement out. But yet, in order to have the school system that we need, that responsibility is on the administration and the school board. And since I've been watching it, I don't know of one time that the school board has said no to Dr. Watkins.
I don't think they've ever said no.
No. So,
and now we're going to get a new principal for 2 schools or something now, a vice principal. We're bringing back another administrative position. It was in the paper a week ago.
Oh, okay. So we didn't have a vice principal.
We got rid of them because we didn't have any money. Now we're going to bring one back for 2 schools or something like that. So there's more administration costs, which I feel bad for the administration. We're going through some FEMA at LaPorte County Surveyor's Office, so LaPorte County, and everyone else for the Kankakee River flooding. And when you get into federal administration, it's not just insane. It's beyond ludicrous on what you got to do to get a dime. And we're dealing with FEMA. So I can't imagine what the school deals with on a federal level for funding and paperwork and bureaucracy. It's just got to be mind-boggling. Anyways, there we go.
There's one topic that we've kind of covered everything bouncing around, but the one we haven't covered.
Well, we got to do this one.
But we got to do the Indiana Supreme Court decision on beachfront. When the residents of Long Beach, because the lake was so high, they took it to court that...
No, so low. They had all the beach.
Oh yeah, a lot of beach.
A lot of extra beach.
That they had people on the beach between... You have Lakeshore Drive and you have houses on the lakeside of Lakeshore Drive, and those homeowners felt that their property stopped at the edge of the water.
Because the edge of the water used to be way up.
Yep. And when the people would not stop enjoying the beach, they took it to court and they lost.
Well, they were trouble. There was a fight and that one kid got punched and killed the other kid.
Oh yeah.
Bonfires and parties, and they didn't want that because who's going to get sued? So they went all the way to the to Indiana Supreme Court, and they decided, no, the beach is yours. But Lake Michigan right now is in the Times is 14 inches from its highest level ever, 1986. Highest measured level ever. And I went to the beach last weekend. I'm sitting on the beach. I was at stop 6, beach walk area. And I'm looking out and like, did they move the buoys out further? I'm sitting there looking like, they're way out there. Those buoys are way, way out there. Man, it's way out.
So what did the court decide? It was a high water mark?
It's the high water mark, the natural high water mark, not an elevation where the dune grass or a shelf or the natural common high water mark.
Okay.
So we were on the beach and somebody said, well, there's less beach. I looked around. Yeah, that beach is half of what it was a year ago. So we're moving the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, moved up so high that we lost half the beach in Michigan City. It's unbelievable. So now, if the beach gets up to, if the lake gets up to the dune grass, yes, there is no public beach. These homeowners own to the lake. If it goes back down, so you try to move a body of water, a Great Lake, that many feet, I'm telling you, to do those calculations is mind-boggling. The gallons of water, of fresh water, to move Lake Michigan an inch.
As much rain as the Midwest has seen, it's understandable. I mean, I don't recall that last winter was not an extremely snowy winter.
Something's going on.
But it's been a wet year.
Something's
Around
going
the Great Lakes, it's been a wet year.
Underneath the groundwater table. Kankakee River came up and never really went down. Its highest, I've seen it in June, July. Usually it's a foot or two. Right now it's 4 or 5 feet deep. It's something, and the Kankakee River flows 1,500 cubic feet per second. So that water's coming from somewhere, probably the ground, just like Lake Michigan seeing 14 inches from the highest level area. 1986 was the highest on record. And we had house falling in Long Beach in 1986.
Well, I can remember years ago in Beverly Shores, Lakefront Drive went from the west boundary of Beverly Shores, Kimmel Road, and went all the way across Broadway and all the way over to Central Ave, which is right by Joe's Bar and Grill, the old Ileana block plant, right in that area. And 3 houses went into the lakefront. The road washed out, and they just never rebuilt the road. So Lakefront dead ends west of Central Ave.
So we're seeing the change.
Yeah.
All right, NIPSCO rates. We did that twice.
Yeah, I didn't pick up that one. What's that one?
NIPSCO rates. Remember, everyone's lowering their bills, and NIPSCO came out and said, "Hey, wait, we're going to decrease your bill."
And once I looked into it, the rate increase that NIPSCO was asking for was, in addition to a rate increase they asked for a couple years ago that had a built-in stair step. Every year there was a slight increase, and that period of annual increases had not yet expired. They were trying to top it off with another rate increase.
Another one, yeah.
Piggyback.
But they came out like a lot of utilities did in America because of the capital tax relief.
Yep, the President Trump's
Cuts and Jobs Act.
tax plan. Yep, Tax and Jobs Act.
Decreased the corporate rate from 35% to 21%. So NIPSCO said, well, we're going to see the average electric customer should see about $30 a year of reduction in their bill, and natural gas should see about $10. So there's $40 a year. That was nice.
But that was after a long fight and a lot of protesting.
Yeah,
NIPSCO held tough for a while.
They must have felt the heat.
Well, when 24 major utility companies around the country all reduced their rates, well, first they withdrew.
Yeah, their request to increase.
Withdrew their request for increases, and then several of them reduced their rates. NIPSCO finally decided maybe they should do something similar.
I'm young enough that I've never seen that.
What is that?
Potawatomi Park.
Oh, Pot Park.
The annexation that we're waiting for, a municipal merger. They were going to try to do it this election, but it has to be on a regular election.
So it won't be on the 2019?
So it has to be on 2020. Doesn't allow a vote on local government mergers during a municipal election year, which is next year's municipal election year.
Yeah.
So you can't do it that year. You have to do it on a non-municipal election year. So we brought that here because did some research. Again, return on investments. And I saw the article that the mayor said he wants to see You know, what are their needs and how much do they bring in if they annex? So we'd like to see this Potawatomi Park. And I looked at their budget, right? We did some state board of accounts.
Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm.
And their income from the state is tiny. It's tiny. And we looked at how many homes they have. They need a whole bunch of sewer work. They need some water lines.
Those are their biggest
street paving.
problems. Well, their streets aren't bad at all.
No.
I mean, because Potawatomi Park is, to me, somewhat similar to Village Green. Village Green, we surveyed Village Green. The streets were deteriorating, but they were concrete. They'd been there 50 years.
Yeah.
I saw no heavy truck traffic the days that we were in Village Green. You see no heavy truck traffic in Potawatomi Park.
No.
So their roads don't take a beating. The problems they have are their sanitary systems, the septic
Yeah, they're on
systems.
septics.
And are they in city water, or are some of them on wells?
Most are on wells, some are on
Most
city.
of them are on wells.
So yeah, you're talking about a big infrastructure cost
Yeah.
on a town that brings in a very little money. And of course, that's why they're asking to become part of Michigan City. We got the money, we got the casino money. So that's why I want to bring Potawatomi Park up. And he says we only got 2 minutes. That's our wrap-up show. We're going to take 5 weeks off, right?
Yep, which will put us back about middle of August when the kids are getting ready to go back to school.
We have lots of issues. I keep saving articles. We have way more than we ever want to deal with. We're going to try some different things.
We've talked about a lot of subjects. We've done, oh my God, what have we done, 25 or more shows?
Yeah, they're all posted on YouTube.
And they're all posted now.
Except one I get from Amy.
And we have we seem to have misplaced one show.
One.
But they're all posted with, when you look in a book, the index, they're all indexed to exactly what subjects we talked about. So if you're interested in a particular subject, peruse the index and it'll be on one of the shows.
So that's our wrap-up show. It's been a good time. We have more topics. We'll leave that with you and have a good summer.
Have a good summer. We'll see you in about 5 weeks.